Do you ever stare into the night sky and say to yourself, gosh, I wish I could create and share exquisitely custom point symbols in ArcGIS Pro? I don't, because I already do that kind of thing. Here's how you can create a shareable style file, populate it with custom map symbology, and then send it to friends, colleagues, and loved ones. Here I am in Pro, and here's a layer I'm working with. By default, I just have this point symbol, and there are a lot of point symbols I can choose from in the gallery. But let's say I want something a little bit more, or custom. I'll open up my project's catalog view to see all the stuff associated with it, and hey, look at that. There's a styles category, and it comes pre-populated with a bunch of default styles. That's what's visible in the gallery. But I'm going to create my own new style. I'll call it custom point, open it up, and then populate it with a new symbol. And I'll name this point symbol something memorable, like, I don't know, I'm sorry, Dave. Now for this symbol, I'd like to design something that represents both the promise and the caution of artificial intelligence. I'll create something that looks a little bit like a dark plastic housing with overhead lighting and maybe a bezel edge around the outside. And to give this a sense of lighting and depth, I'm going to add a stroke layer and make it a gradient stroke that goes from black to transparent black so that it has a pseudo shade effect around this inner bezel. And I really like this shade effect, so I'm going to try to repurpose this for the icon itself. I'll drag it all the way to the bottom and make it much thicker. And to make the shadow look more organic, of course, I can modify its gradient, bringing the solid black closer to the center, adding more stops, and giving it a less of a linear gradient. Next, I'd really like to give this symbol the sense of an unblinking, lidless, robotic eye, always watching, thinking, calculating. Of course, an eye like this would have a warm radial pulse to it, something with concentric yellow to deep amber to dark red tones. And I think this is coming along pretty nicely. We have a sense of inner intellectual illumination and some fake lighting and shadow. But we're missing reflection. Let's make this icon live in a place and reflect its surroundings. In this case, harsh overhead lighting. So I'll add a couple of rectangles with a gradient fill that fades out to nothing and position them so they recede into the background. And to make this environment look more like a room and less like a hallway, and to give this lens a more glassy appearance, I'm going to create copies of all of these reflections and rotate them 45 degrees or negative 45 degrees and save this symbol to my style. And because this is just a file after all, I could put it on ArcGIS Online, I could save it as a web style, or I could just email the thing to my friend Lei. What's Lei gonna do with a symbol like this? I have no idea.
Meanwhile, back in the lowlands,
So when John first shared with me what symbol we were going to use for this video, I had absolutely no idea how I was going to translate this into something that I could share with everyone. But two things were for sure. One, the symbol was rad, and two, the movie that it was based on is gold. And that, my friends, is usually where my creative journey starts. Pull out a whiteboard, grab a marker, and just spill my thoughts everywhere. With enough curiosity and a willingness to look for inspiration in completely random places, which might mean doom scrolling through SU forums, or checking what people are building on LinkedIn, or going down a Pinterest rabbit hole at midnight. Spending literally all the free time I have, breaking things apart, piecing things together. Coffee, refill, repeat, coffee, refill, repeat, coffee, coffee, coffee. I love a coffee. And every now and then, taking a short break to reset, throw on some music, and just boogie for a minute. Dude, if I'm genuinely interested in a concept, I will absolutely not stop looking until I found a solution. And then, boom, Inspired by Atlas's Lego builds on LinkedIn and a late-night Pinterest deep dive into pixelated astronauts, I built a poster generator in ArcGIS Pro specifically tailored towards a space odyssey. The first thing we're gonna do is add a toolbox. We do this by going to the catalog pane and right-clicking on toolboxes. Hit Add Toolbox and then select the PYT file wherever you've kept it. Now, the generator lives inside Pro and we can use it. Under the hood, the tool samples the image and builds a polygon fishnet and assigns each individual cell a color based on the pixel it represents. So what you get isn't a raster, it's a fully vectorized reconstruction of the image. Next, we're gonna bring in John's immaculate symbol. So right-click on styles and add style. So this tool only needs one piece of geometry, and that's a single point. So create a point layer and place that point wherever you want your poster to be centered. And don't forget to set the symbology of this layer to John's symbol. Everything radiates from here. Now open the custom geoprocessing tool and select the input image. In my case, a Space Odyssey poster. Adjust the parameters to control the size and the quality of the poster that you want to generate. And that's it! But since this one is based on a Space Odyssey and we have a magnificent symbol to incorporate, I pushed it a little further. HAL isn't just a part of the story. HAL is always watching. In the tool, enable the HAL ring and choose the point layer with John's symbol, and then hit run. The tool calculates a circular perimeter around the poster, and based on its size, it places evenly spaced points along that ring. And this is meant to capture HAL's omniscient gaze. He doesn't sit inside the frame, but he surrounds it. Always watching. So do you want to generate a poster like this or waste a colleague's or friend's time the GIS way? Use this tool to share the vector layer with its style file. It loads as a solid block until they apply it and the meme appears.